Hello, this is Gary Champion, psychic medium, medical intuitive, pet psychic. I'm being interviewed today for a video for YouTube, and they're just going to ask me questions and I'm going to answer them the best way I can. So I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so when did you become a psychic medium?
I was 6 years old, sitting in bed with my grandmother, and we were giggling and talking, and she said, "Let's go get a snack." So we went to the kitchen, which she calls the icebox, not the refrigerator, and got a snack in a bowl, which I won't tell you about. And she had a heart attack, passed in front of me there, and it was like almost immediately I could hear her voice. The next day I wandered around the house, her house, trying to find her, and was thinking, I can hear you, but I can't see you. So the first voice I heard from the other side was my grandmother, and it happened real quickly. We were together giggling, she passed. The next morning, she took the rest of the night to pass, but to me, her spirit had already left her body, and she was coming back and forth. I could feel her being here and being there. And then people were going in and out of the room saying goodbye, but they didn't allow me to do that. I don't know what that was, but I didn't need it because she's still around today. We still talk. So I sort of lightning struck, and I became a medium just very quickly. But I was always a goofy kid, and I think that led to it. And like years later, I discovered that my grandmother had been a medium as well. So, and my father and mother had a lot of that, and but it was kind of instantaneous. I didn't have to study to do this. I didn't have to educate myself. It just was instantaneous.
All right. Is this something you've always wanted to do?
That's a good question. In the beginning, I was a medium, and I didn't know what to do with it, and it got me in a lot of trouble. And it wasn't something I was interested in doing, but it kept popping up throughout my life. Anytime I needed help, somebody would tell me something. And somewhere in college, I was hanging out with some people that were interested in testing for psychic abilities. And I failed all the exams. I didn't pass any of them, but yet I was hearing voices. I knew what it was about, but I couldn't tell them that because I'd never heard anybody say they had heard voices before. But no, I didn't want to do this. I sort of drifted into it. And pretty late, it was in my 50s before I thought, gee, I can do this for a living. But I had never seen another medium, except I met a guy in college, and I won't mention his name, he's long past, but the first medium I met was when I was in college. But he wasn't doing well at it, so I didn't consider it as a career until long after college and teaching school and doing a lot of other things, and then all of a sudden it just occurred to me. So it's not something I wanted to do, it's something I sort of have to do. I'm sort of compelled to do it.
Okay. Can anyone become a medium?
No, I wish it were true. Then everybody would connect with their relatives who has passed. And mediumship is not just for that. You can know things that are going to happen, things you should do, navigational stuff, love, interest, career, finances, all that can come through a medium if they're tuned. But I think you have to sort of be born to be a medium. I was so sensitive and so goofy, and I'm sure I was referred to that as a child because my mother said I kept bumping into things like I didn't know where I was. And I was sick as a child and almost passed, and then almost passed again. So I'm very, very lucky to be here. But I think all that had something to do with me becoming a medium because it was like 3 or 4 years later my grandmother passed, and all seemed to it makes sense now, but it didn't then. But I don't think anybody can be a medium. I think it's something you're kind of born to do. I think you can probably not be a medium, just be goofy and be triggered into being a medium by the passing of a relative, taking a drug for a skin condition, lightning can strike you. There's all kinds of ways you can become a medium when you really probably weren't born to be one. I don't know anybody like that, but I'm saying it's possible.
Okay. What is the process you use to talk to those who have passed?
You know, it's I don't really talk to those who have passed. I listen. I'm not. If a client is here, I know that they will tell me what I need to know to help them. By asking, it tends to slow things down. They're not interested in me asking them a bunch of questions. They're interested in telling me things that I need to know. And sometimes when a client will come, they'll get frustrated because they're going to get through what they've got to say, then you can ask a question. Questions are always welcome in a reading, but those who have passed take priority with what they're saying. I'm going to say first because they just repeat it over and over, and I don't have the ability to block it. So I have to say what I hear, and then questions very welcome, and they will answer those, but they seem to have a priority listing of their own. So I don't ask questions. I'm like and they know that I can hear them because I have some kind of special vibration or something. Is what they told me. And I don't alter what I hear in any way. I give it to them straight. Sometimes it's blunt, but it's true. So I'm not going to I don't sugarcoat something just because somebody can't hear it the way I'm going to give it. If it offends them in some way, they just got to get over it because that's the way I'm getting it. And often the way they give it to me will imply something else. If I change a word, then it doesn't resound with you in the way that it does if I just tell you what they're saying. So, long answer to a simple question. But I hear voices and I pass it on. That's all there is to it. And the same with animals. It's a mediumistic thing for me. Most psychic people, most pet people say it's a psychic thing. For me, it's not. It's a mediumistic thing. Those who have passed tell me what that dog is thinking, but I don't speak dog. So I get English words that I can understand. It goes through my guides. It takes a little side trip over there and then comes to me. So it's the same thing, same process. But I've had animal people tell me it's psychic. For me, it's not.
Okay. Does someone need to be dead for a long time before you could hear them?
No. I was at giving a class in Chicago once, years ago, and a girl sat on the front row. And she kept staring at me like she knew me or something, and often people do that I do know and I don't recognize them. When I'm in a meditative state in front of people, I don't have the awareness of saying, oh, I know you. Turns out I didn't know her, and she sat there waiting through the whole class. She didn't raise her hand, she didn't ask anything, and I got to the end and everybody was leaving, and I was packing my bag, putting the stuff that you bring to a class in a bag, and she came up and she said, I drove 400 miles to be here because somebody died last night. And I don't remember who it was, it's been too long, but I remember the instant. And I said, well, just sit there, and as I'm packing, maybe it'll come to me. And you really have a short period of time just to get out from one room to the next. And as I was finished packing, somebody gave me the name of the person that had passed. And she didn't want to hear anymore. She said, that's all I wanted to hear. And she got up and left. So yeah, just almost, and the odd thing is sometimes they come to you before they pass. Very strange that they're in a coma or something and they're going back and forth, and you can see and feel them although they're still alive. It's very strange. But yeah, usually a short period of time will do.
Okay. Are there questions you can't answer?
Well, there's one that seems to come up in readings a lot, and the other side's not really interested in answering it, and I do know why. I get a lot of people that want to know when someone is going to pass, or often when they're going to pass, or when their husband is going to pass, and these are all questions that the other side doesn't see as relevant, but, and sometimes it's for greedy purposes. When's this person gonna pass? Because they're gonna inherit something. But, mostly, there's some prominent cases, sessions, where I told someone that they had a couple of weeks, and they did pass in 2 weeks. And, it was up on the internet for a while. And the reason they told me about her was that she needed to get her affairs in order, and she needed to make a will. She didn't have a will, and she needed to say goodbye to everybody, you know, in the manner that she wanted to. It was important because her relatives would have fought over her possessions for 15 years. It would have torn the family apart. So you see, it had a spiritual purpose. I passed it on to her, and she told everybody in town, I guess. And then she did pass, just exactly as I said she would. And I didn't get any work from that area. Still haven't gotten any work. It's kind of spooked people, but they won't tell me when someone passes because it's really not something you need to know. People live their lives differently. If you say when they're going to pass, they go out and they buy a red sports car. They just do strange things in a manner that's not good. So knowing is not something. It's something they want to know, but it's not something they need to know. And often the other side categorizes that. And if it's something you need to know, then yeah. If it's something you want to know, maybe not. But the death of a person is, and first of all, it's hard to predict. I mean, people can hold on forever without, I don't know. Anyway, that's my best answer.
Okay, well, this may be a little similar, but if you can see something in a client's future that they need to avoid, can they change their future?
Yeah, the future's not written. Most people think it's fixed and, oh, fate has got me, and I guess bad things are just gonna, no, the future's not fixed. I always say it's like Jell-O. It's hard to move around, but you can move it. You can alter your direction. Anything you do to alter your direction changes the future, which is why some people in a reading will say they want to know something, and I begin to tell them, and my guys say, well, don't tell her because she will not do the things necessary for this good thing to happen. They just stop working towards something. She won't apply for that interview. She'll just sit back and wait for it to happen, and she'll miss the good thing that could happen. So sometimes you withhold things from clients because they don't act in their best interest. And you'll tell them, good things will happen if you just do what you would normally do. And if they alter it in any little way in the future, because you didn't apply for that job, because you didn't go to meet that guy at the mall, because you know that you're going to meet somebody you don't, somehow it just discombobulates people, and they don't follow their true path that they were on. So sometimes you withhold to help someone. But yeah, the future's changeable. The future's not fixed. I'm a good example. I've had many jobs. I've changed direction many times because I chose to, knowing that the timeline I was on had ended. It was time to do something else. Well, you don't know it until it actually, you're right upon it, and then you change directions for whatever reason.
Okay. Is phone reading better than a one-on-one reading with a medium?
Of course, mediums like phone readings because they don't have to go someplace, or I don't think there's any difference. I think if I'm on the phone with you, the spirits you want to hear from are with me in the room as I'm giving the reading. So there's no difference. If you're there, they're there. If you're on the phone, and I don't understand it, and I don't think anybody does, but the electrical, the connection with the phone, hearing the voice of you makes it all happen. And it's, I put a video up about, once you go to Elvis's house and talk to Elvis. Well, I've been to Elvis's house 6 times. Elvis has never spoken to me because I'm not a relative. Why would he? If I were his uncle or son or cousin, he would have a reason to, which is why in readings people want to connect with Cary Grant. He doesn't appear and they go, oh, Cary Grant didn't appear and say, yeah, but you're not related to him. Why would he? The spiritual connection is much like that. You either had to know them, or for them to be family, or they'd be significant in your life for them to just show up. Why else? Why would they do it?
Okay, that's interesting. Should clients ask questions during?
You know, it seems like there's two different clients. The ones that just want to hear, and they'll tell you, you say, do you have any questions? And they'll say, I just want to hear what you got. And then there's other people that come with an extremely long list that you're not going to get through, but they don't want to hear anything but the answers to these things. They'll say blah, 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 and you're supposed to give them an answer, and then blah, 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 and just give them a quick answer, because they got 20 things they want to get through. So, and then there's in between. People want to listen to what you have, then they want to ask questions, which is usually the best reading, because the stuff that comes from the other side all of a sudden is important, and something you might not think of. You're interested in a boyfriend, and they're going to tell you something critical to your career or your health. I do a lot of medical stuff for some reason. I've always had that. It may be my dad. The animal talking comes from my dad because he was a vet, and he could talk to animals. When he passed, that's when I began to hear him. It's after he passed. So, am I rambling?
No, that's good. That's
Okay.
good. Okay, so can children get readings? Is it just for adults?
You know, at psychic fairs and expos that I do out across the country, mothers, not fathers, mothers will bring their children that are usually 10 or 12 and exhibiting a lot of psychic ability or mediumistic tendencies. And the mothers sharp enough, because mothers hang around their kids more than fathers do, and they've noticed some of the things they say are odd, and they'll bring that child to the thing, look me up on the directory, find a medium, and it's not just me, it's any medium, I guess, and they bring the child, and you read the child, and the mother sits in on that reading. And it's an attempt to help that child understand what he's going through. Psychic kids they're different, and the mother recognizes it. And sometimes they're just, I mean, I used to do a lot of parties. I don't know why I'm not doing them anymore, but like birthday parties for 13-year-olds, be like a 13th birthday party. And they're extremely bright. They're really sharp, and they ask a lot of really interesting questions. And those are some of the best, you know, like a party for teens or something, a birthday party for teens. Usually get stuck in the garage or some little room or something, but it's really, really a lot of fun. I was doing one somewhere, I don't remember where, and the mother came out, she had organized it, and she said, well, we're only going to pay you for this time that you're here, but the whole block has showed up. These kids have called their friends, and now there's a line of kids outside the door. These aren't the kids we're paying you to read, so you can stay as long as you want and read them, but we're cutting it off at an hour. So anyway, so you kind of shorten your readings to little short ones and get more kids in. So, but kids, yeah, they're very sharp, very quick, and very intuitive. And jump on everything you say and use it more than adults, because they're not all jaded about life and everything. They understand this stuff better than adults. The adults, they don't tend to understand it. Children, they all understand it. So yeah, children can get a reading, but it's usually up to the parent to decide that, unless they're about 18. Of course, that's an adult. But I don't generally. Children don't come to the door and ring the bell and say they want a reading. I don't think I would be right doing that without the parental consent, so I don't read children underage without a parental consent, and they really need to be in the room.
How often should someone get a reading?
You know, some people don't need a reading, but every 6 years someone needs one. You know, I have clients that insist on a reading, and they call all the time. because they can't seem to navigate their own lives all that well. They need a little extra help, and then they stop calling once they get there. You know, it's up to the client. If I said every 6 months, I think that's a standard thing that everybody gives, but I don't think it's true. I think some people need one reading their whole life, and some people once a year, once every couple of years. Probably not a bad idea. There's no set number here. Depends on who you are and what you need, and that's decided by the client. I don't decide that. I'm not in control of that. Wouldn't remember them anyway.
Okay, great. One more question. How should someone prepare for a reading?
You should prepare by not preparing. If you bring a list of questions, that's about as much preparation as you need. There's nothing special to be done in the reading. I'm going to hear the people I'm supposed to hear. You can't help me, and you shouldn't. And I see this at fairs all the time, and I hear them around me as I'm reading, that someone will sit over here, and they'll tell them their life story, and of course all that person has to do is say, oh, well, so-and-so, and they take it from the conversation, all the information they've given, and they're really just giving them a fake reading. Your job as a client is to keep the medium on track. If he's on track, you should say, yeah, that's true, that's what happened. And only unless he asks you something specific should you shouldn't really reveal a lot of stuff. It's not necessary in the reading and often gets in the way. People call wanting to set up a reading and they start telling me their whole life, and I say, no, I can't hear any of that. You make it difficult for me to. If you've told me something, then it's in my memory, and I might give it back to you without knowing. It sounds the same to me. So by not telling me something, I know that the information I get is true and accurate because someone who's passed has given it to me. You didn't give it to me. So you can confuse a medium by giving them information they shouldn't have. That really isn't important in the reading at all. How you got to where you're at has no relevance on the reading.
Okay, very good. Well, that was my last question. Thank you so much.
Bye. This will be up on YouTube, I guess, sometime soon.